So let me just recap what we did today. If we have a project and it's in the request phase, we then have the convert a project button that is available to be pressed. We used a checkbox that can only be selected on one gallery item. We did this different than what we saw online and we saw what other people did. Now, when we go to convert a project, it asks for the start and end date. This then replaces our proposed and start and end date. It doesn't overwrite, it just replaces them in a separate column. So we can select 820, 820, and this will not overwrite, but replace. And then it also pushes the project phase at initiation and the project status to green to start off. Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Hess, and this is going to be our third video on this topic. So if you missed the other ones, what we're doing is we're building a project request, kind of like a project center where you can request projects, create projects, manage your projects all in Teams. And so we're using Dataverse for Teams as a backend, and don't let that word Dataverse scare you. And all this comes with select Office 365 licenses, so no premium licenses. All right, so on day one, we created this gallery. So that's our first video. We created the gallery, added SVG, added red, yellow, green. On day two, on video number 2, we created a project request screen based on where the stage is of the project. So if we're in an execution project phase and we edit, we can see that execution is highlighted. So today I wanted to work on converting a project from a project request to a real project. So if we go to a project request, we can see here that it is editable. I want to lock this down. So if it's a project request, you have to go through a different method. So for project request, I'm going to say the display mode. I already said a for mode equals new. I'm going to change this to if my dropdown project phase dot selected dot value equals project phase dot request, then it's locked down. So I kind of changed it a little bit there. So right now, if it's equal to request, it's locked down. Maybe it should be on this side. I feel like project phase should be on the left. Okay, so now I want a checkbox here. And if that project is selected, I want a button to allow me to convert it into a project and ask for a little bit of information. What I want to do is I want to come to this gallery. And I want this line here, the first line, and I'm going to insert a checkbox. And the checkbox is going to be right here. And maybe we want to make it a little bit bigger, so people can select on it. And I want to add a button here that lets me convert it to a project. So in this container, at the top up here, I'll probably just copy this and paste. And so we'll rename these. And pretend you don't see my dates. I know it says $37.99 and all of that, but that kind of shows us the functionality of Dataverse for Teams, right? It looks like maybe the max is $37.99 and the minimum is $18.99. That's kind of neat to learn that. But don't worry about the dates. Pretend that's not there right now. Let's change this button here to convert to project. But we have a problem, right? So in our checkbox, we can select multiple. Is there a way we can make it so it only allows you to select one time? Let's see if we can figure that out. And this is where I think I'm different than other streamers. I'm going to actually show you what other streamers are doing, what other YouTubers are doing, what other people are suggesting. So here, Randy Hayes, he's doing kind of something similar that Daniel Christensen does. It's like he's doing a count rows, and then you're checking if it's 0, and then you disable it. So then you have to click on it and uncheck. And I was like, that's too many clicks. I'm lazy. I don't want to click that many times, right? So that's one idea, right? It's not what I want. I was like, so okay, what do I want? How about when it's selected, the checkbox is true. So checked. So all I was thinking is, okay, if this item is selected, then it's true, else it's false. So then it only lets me click one time, right? So I can just come in here and I can say, oh, selected, selected, selected. Okay, but the downside to this mode is, okay, one always has to be checked. So when you first turn on, the first item is going to be checked. The next issue was I can come in here and I can click it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to let people click in here. So normally have a button that takes over the entire space. So what I was thinking is if I have something overlay over top of it, because if I change the display mode to edit, if I change the display mode to view, if I change the display mode to view, it kind of looks like that gray dulled out. I don't like that. So what I normally do is I come in here and I come to this line and I make a button. And I have this button take up the entire space. That's just something I like to do. And the reason is because I get this highlight feature. I really like this highlight feature. And so since it's Dataverse for Teams, I need to change the width value to be parent.width. Okay, then I'm going to make the button have no text and invisible. So if we go to fill color, you can see that up here. I can change the RGBA. And this is funny about Dataverse for Teams. They don't let you make anything completely transparent. I was like, okay, but if I can't make it completely transparent, I'll just make it a little transparent. So maybe 0.001, that doesn't work. Let's say 0.01. So now I have a button over here that I can highlight. I can't click on the checkbox anymore. I also can't click on my pencil tool. I can pull the pencil tool out front. I'm going to pull the pencil tool, my icon 1, and I'll reorder it to the front. So now I have my button here. My pencil tool I can still click on, get to, but now I want the hover fill to be transparent too. So now I can select and have one selected. Now convert to project. What I want to happen is I want a pop-up to come up and it asks you for the real start date and the real end date. On my dates here, I have 4 fields. I have projected start, start, projected end, end. On my fields here, let me see. This is why you should rename your fields. The text is saying this item, etc. But what I'm going to say is if this item dot project phase equals project phase dot request, then we show, let me see if I can get all this showing up. Then instead of, I pasted that in. If you didn't see, I did that really quickly. So here's a space. We're going to say this item dot, I believe it's proposed. Maybe I should have renamed it projected, but proposed start. So now I'm going to do the same thing on the end date. So we can see my start date, and if we format the text, maybe that'll help us. So you can say if the project is request, we're using the proposed start date. If it's not a request, if it's in a different phase, we're going to use that actual start date and end date. Okay, so now I got my dates and they look decent. They look like they could be real data. Start date, end date, start date. Yeah, all that looks like it could be real data. I have my button overlay. Now I only select one item. I really like how that checkbox works. I mean, such a simple solution. Keep it simple. You can do it the other way if you want, but I like this way. One is always selected. Now, my convert a project. All right, so I want to pop out, but I want to keep it simple. And we can work on the UI, UX later. All right, so what I did here is not a real pop out, but I just, made it be true or not. So my button here, this gallery is based on this variable, if it's true or not. And this gallery, my pop-out, is going to be true as long as that variable is not true. The button just turns the pop-out true or not, which changes the visibility. So in my pop-out here, we're going to turn this to false. So we're in the fourth container pop-out. To spare you some time, I just added 3 containers in here. So I'm not going to go into all the details about the containers. So the first thing I want here in my top container is I want a label, and I want it centered in the container, and the text will be centered, and it's please select a start and end date, and maybe this will be down here. And then in this container, we're going to have 2 start and end dates. So insert date picker, and then another date picker. All right, and then I want these centered also. All right, so I have my date. I have start, a date picker, end, a date picker, and maybe I want to change the colors. Maybe make this text a little bit bigger, like the font size. Paste. Okay, so please select a start and end, and then we're going to have a button to either accept or cancel, or 2 buttons, to accept or cancel. Please select a start and end to convert to a project. And these 2 buttons in the container are centered. Maybe they'll be up here, centered with a gap of 100. And we can accept or we can cancel. So on the accept button, what I'm going to do is I'm going to patch. Now that we have a start and end, we're going to patch. So on select, we're going to patch my data source, which is Dataverse project lists. And what are we going to patch? So we're going to patch the item that we have selected, gallery 1.selected. And then what are we going to update? We're going to update the start to this date picker, which is date picker 1 dot value. So it's not selected date dot value. And the end to date picker 2 dot value. We're also going to change the project phase to initiate. Phase dot initiation. All right, so we're patching 3 things: date, end, project phase, initiation. All right, so now let's do one. So this one here, server upgrade, this is the one that we have selected. I'm going to convert to project, select a start date. We'll do the 15th. The end date will be the 31st, and we're going to hit accept. Now, with the accept button, we also need to change that variable. So on accept, we're also going to update context that variable. So we need a semicolon here. The variable pop out true. Whatever the variable was, we're just going to change it back. Variable pop out true. We're going to change it back. I'm going to do the same thing on the cancel button. So on the cancel button, once again, I'm just going to do the exclamation mark. So we can cancel, hide it, convert to project. So now we don't want to let people. So now we have another step, right? So let's say we're on planning or initiation and it's already a project. We don't want them to be able to change a project that is not a request. So on convert to project, this button here, I'm going to change the display mode. And this is going to be if gallery1 dot selected dot project phase equals project phase dot request, then it's going to be in edit mode, display mode edit, else it's going to be in display mode dot view. All right, So now we cannot convert to project unless the project is in the request phase. So let's create a new project request. All right, we're in the request phase. What can we name this? DocuSign rollout to on-premise. I don't know. This is a rollout to our on-premises of DocuSign. Manager, requesting department is IT, proposed start, proposed date. So pay attention to this. This is going to show up in our, on the other side. 9/1, and then we'll do 9/30. It's in the request. We can't change it. The project size is small. We'll hit save. Saving, writing. We now have a project in the request stage. Notice the start and end date. This is the proposed start and end date. We can select on this. The convert project is now available. We can convert the project and say, please select a project, a start and end date. Maybe we want to reset these variables. Since it's a pop-out, it's not resetting them. Let's reset before we keep continuing. So on the date picker, on the convert to project button, I'm just going to reset date picker 1 and reset date picker 2. So no matter if we have something selected in here and we convert to project and we come back, the dates are now reset. So now let's go back. We're on DocuSign rollout and it's on premises. We'll make more space for the full title later. I'll click on here. I'll convert to project. I'll select dates. Now remember we're on 9/1 and 9/30. Well, let's say, it's a little late. We're going to go on the 3rd of October and finish on October 31st. So now the proposed start date and the proposed end date are changed. And maybe you even want to show that on here. Maybe you want to show the proposed start and proposed end date. So start, end, accept. Now we have DocuSign rollout in the initiation phase, the start date and end date. We haven't made it green. Maybe we want to change it to green. Maybe people will feel better if you change the project status to green. I'll just create another new project real quick. All right, so I want that final touch. When I click convert a project, the accept button, let's also make it green. So the project status also becomes project status .green. So now when we first initialize a project, so I have a new project here. It's in the request phase. Project, we can go in here and edit, and we're in the project request form, right? We can't change the phase. That's good. We can come in here. We can convert to a project, select a start and end date. Maybe we'll start in January of the new year. This is just an idea. And when we hit accept, it's going to change the proposed start and the proposed end to this date to the actual ones, and hit accept, and it's going to change it to green initiation. I believe that is beautiful. I think project managers are going to love this. We're making this out. I know it's a little complicated, but honestly, it's beautiful. Maybe percent complete we can even change to 0. Maybe we can even change that to 0. Or another option is, for the label, visible, if this item .percent complete equals 0, then it's false, true. We could even do that, and we could even add in here, or is blank percent complete, then it's false or true. So now we can only, there's another little add-on touch. So we can keep adding on, making this beautiful. I think that's all I'm going to leave it for today. So just to run over, we now have a convert to project button. It's only available if we're selected. We also added a checkbox. And this checkbox only allows one checked item at a time. There was other ways to show this online that other people did online. I didn't like it. I like my way. Now we can convert a project, select the start date and end date. We'll say both just 8/26. We can hit accept. It's going to push it into green and push the project into the initiation phase. So there it is with the start date, end date change, initiation phase. Beautiful. That's what I want. That's now converting a project request into a project. So next week we'll keep continuing on and creating this out. I think we'll go into the project details page. So thank you all for watching. My name is Andrew Hess. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you have any ideas. I'll see you next week.